Okay, so now I'm going to go over adding the code that gets the ship in the game. So these are two of my favorite variables. I like them so much that if a clever person would actually sneak over here, and let's click save on that. I was doing a little maintenance. Clever person would sneak over here and go over to our breakout game and open up our breakout next level. I'm going to right click it, open in a new tab, because breakout next level has some code in it that, man, I use everywhere. So let me grab those two, copy them right there, and paste them. I use screen width, I use screen height. Okay. And then the color I'm going to use in this game. Um, I am going to have a background color. So we'll grab that. Won't be having any paddle colors, but I'm definitely going to have a background color. So we need to add that in there. Now, am I sure that I want it to be this particular color? What color is that? Okay, yeah, that's kind of a light blue. I might want to change that to some different color. I've got color hexes, color palettes right here, and there is a link, to color hex there in the assignment. You could go find yourself some nice, attractive background color that'll contrast nicely with your. Let me grab this one right here, this kind of purplish. Copy that, and then over here, I'm going to go ahead and bring that hexadecimal code in, and then when I turn on that background, it'll be that color. Now, my game management variables. Now, here's where things are going to start to change a little bit, but not a whole lot actually. Uh, do I have a variable called delay? Is it here somewhere? Anyway, as much time as I've spent doing this, I could have just come right over here and wrote var delay equals 20 and set my 20 millisecond delay rate. Now, these are going to be variables we're going to use for the ship's width and the ship's height. And this will be ship width, which we're going to set to 20, and ship height, which we're also going to set to 20. Later, if we adjust those numbers, because we're using these variables, those changes will automatically find their way down into the code, because we'll always be referring to these in terms of those variable names. All right, so then after our ship width and our ship height, we're going to actually need to, this is where we create our image. This is our ship game object, and it is going to be a new web image. And I like to just set the whole thing up, open and the close parentheses and open and close double quotes and the terminator, just get it all set up right here. Now, in my last video, I created a ship, and the last thing I did was I exported it to a folder where I could find that ship. And let's see, look at the details here. There's my PNG file, my demo ship image one. So I want to get this image into my Code High School game. To do that, I click on the More button and go down to Upload. This brings up the Upload Media window. Click on Upload File and find the correct folder. It's in my graphics, my asteroids, and whoop, there it is, my demo ship image one. Let me click Open, and now I have a link. And you can even see a little small preview of the ship, but I've got a link now. I'll copy that, paste it in here, and that's got my web image link set up for my ship. Now we're also going to need to have a starting position for our ship. We want this to be a location smack dab in the middle of the screen. So it's going to be a var ship x, and it's going to be equal to the screen width divided by 2, because that will get us right to the middle of the screen. Subtract the ship width divided by 2, which will subtract from us half of the width of the ship. And none of that typed because I was not in the right window. And let's see, semicolon. All right. So var ship x equals screen width divided by 2, gets us the middle of the screen, taking away, subtracting from that the ship's width divided by 2, taking away half the width of the ship. That's going to get us an x position that is precisely right in the middle of the screen. So when we place our image is perfectly centered. Now we're going to do something very similar for ship y. These are going to be the x and the y starting positions for our ship. That's going to be screen height divided by 2, take away ship height divided by 2, semicolon. All right, so that's going to get me my ship x and my ship y. Now, this next variables are going to be involved in rotating the ship, and there are a series of them. This first one's going to be called ship rotate speed. And we're going to initialize that at a value of 5. Semicolon. And I'm going to tab over here, and I'm going to add a comment. This is how many degrees we rotate in one frame. So in one frame of the game, we might be rotating positive ship rotate speed, which will be a positive 5 degrees, or we might be rotating negative ship rotate speed, which would be a negative 5 degrees. The next one we're going to need is called ship rotate. And we're going to set that equal to 0 because initially we don't want our ship rotating. Because this is the variable that, well, it's going to either be 0. Let me drop these back 1. How about 2? Let's see, tab. All right, good. All right, lines them up better. All right. Or it's going to be negative ship rotate speed or positive ship rotate speed. All right. And this next is also used in rotation. It's called ship rotation, and we initialize this also at 0. And looking at the comment here, this is used to keep track of the total rotations in degrees from start. As we rotate our ship, if we keep rotating in one direction, we will quickly rotate into the thousands of degrees. We only have to do 3 rotations, and we will be into the thousands of degrees. And that's if we rotate in one direction. So ship rotation, this variable is going to be involved in keeping the rotation of our ship between 0 and 360 degrees. It'll always, whenever we hit 360 degrees, it'll always snap back to 0. And so we'll keep our rotation degrees from becoming such large numbers that they might slow down performance of the program. All right. Now, as we get into the code here, first thing we need to do is hit our run button. Make sure that we didn't break any rules and all these variable names that we typed. Make sure you didn't miss any parentheses. So do hit the run button. If you get any errors, you got to debug them now. You've made them right in here. Now I'm going to assume you've debugged those. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set background color to background color. Now that is going to make something happen. When I hit the run button, I do get my background color. My background color shows up. Very nice. All right, so there we go. Got my background color. Now we need to set up the key down method and the key up methods to call the key down function and the key up function respectively. And I can get that code right over here for free under animation, keyboard events. And if I just copy those 2 lines of code right there, it's so sweet, paste them, and there they are. I get them for free right off the Documents tab. And it's convenient, too, that I named my callback function to be key down when the key down method fires, and my callback method to be key up when the key up method fires. It's going to call key up. So it's convenient that I did it that way. Now, this next function is going to be a function call to the make ship function. I provide you the function name right there. Please don't misspell it, and don't forget your open and close parentheses right here. And lastly, we're going to start the game timer. And our set timer is going to call the game function every delay milliseconds. And that will start our timer. Now let's get our ship on the screen, okay? That's going to get handled in the make ship function. Then once we get that ship appear on the screen, we'll start to deal with making it rotate. Okay. So now down here in the make ship function, this is going to put the ship on the screen. So we're going to do ship dot position, and it's going to be to the ship X. Oops, don't forget put on that capital X and the ship Y. Let the Monaco editor type for you, and you can't get it wrong. And we're also going to add the ship to the screen. And just with those two lines of code now, our ship should appear in the middle of the screen. Not going to rotate, but you should have a ship on the screen at this point after you add these. All right. Now next, we need to handle the key presses. The key presses are going to become important, so let's set the key presses up. On that Docs tab, right there where I was at, under Animation and Keyboard Events, they've got just what I want, a block of code right here. It's got everything I need. I'm going to copy it and come over here. And I'm going to replace this first if true in the key down function with if my key code, keyboard letter, and what letter am I looking for? It looks like it's the letter A. If they're pressing the letter A, I want something to happen. I want the ship to rotate to the left. So if they're pressing the A key, I'm going to set the ship rotate variable to, I can copy it right there, negative ship rotate speed. And I'm going to start recycling things. Copy that, here's the true, paste it. If the D key, change the A to a D. If the D key gets pressed, then we want to do something very similar here. Only difference is, instead of a negative ship rotate speed, we want a positive ship rotate speed. So if they press the A key, the ship rotate variable gets set to -5 because ship rotate speed currently is initialized at 5. See up here at the top? All these global variables are now coming into play. In just a minute, we're going to start adding ship rotation. But right now, we're relating these two global variables right here. And so the ship rotate variable can either be 0, negative ship rotate speed, or ship rotate speed. And so here, when we press the A key, ship rotate speed gets set to negative. And when we press the D key, ship rotate speed gets set to the positive. And then that gets stored back in the ship rotate variable. Now we're going to do something very similar when we let go of these keys. When we let go of these keys, we want everything to just like stop. So here, I'll paste it. And I'll also go grab when we get a D key, paste it. And then now here, I'm going to take a little detour, copy that, but I want to change this down to, if the key gets released, I want the speed to be 0. In both of these cases, if the key gets released, I want the speed to be 0. If the key gets pressed, if the A key's pressed, I want it to be a negative ship rotate speed, a -5. If the D key gets pressed, I want it to be a positive ship rotate speed, +5. But if either of those keys get let go, I want the ship rotate variable to be set back to 0. That sets up the key presses. Now that the key presses are set up, we can think about the game function. All the game function is going to do so far is call the rotate ship function. So we need to put that function call in to call the rotate ship function. That's going to happen every 20 milliseconds, or 50 our game's FP, or frame rate. Let's use the vocabulary. Is 50 FPS. Our game rate, our frame rate for our game is 50 frames per second. We're calling the game function every 20 milliseconds. Take a second, cut it up into 1,000 pieces, and divide that by 20. You get 50 in each piece. So 50 frames per second. All right, so we're calling the rotate ship function. When we call the rotate ship function, we want stuff to happen. So the first thing that we're looking at when we call the rotate ship function is if one of two conditions is true. It's an or situation. So if ship rotate is less than 0, and then the or operator, the vertical line, if ship rotate is greater than 0, if either of those cases are true, when this function gets called, it means somebody's pressing either the A key or the D key. One of those keys is being pressed because ship rotate in the key down function, when you press those keys, ship rotate gets set to a negative or a positive 5 if you press them. So when that happens, then we need to handle rotating the ship. And so rotating the ship is just going to be a simple and ship.rotate, rotate ship, ship.rotate. And we want to move by ship rotate degrees. Now, something will happen. If I now hit my run button, if I press my A or my D key, my ship is now rotating. What do you know? Look at that. But there's a little debug code that I'm going to add down here. I'm going to put a little ln, and what I'm going to put in here is I want to take a look at ship rotation variable. I want to take a look and see what it equals. Plus, down to that. There we go. Plus the ship rotation. All right. So I'm going to look at this down here in the console window, okay? Because I've put this debug code in so I can look at this. And so when I press the A button, let's see. Ooh, ship rotation 0. I'm forgetting something. Okay, but I am rotating. Interesting. Yeah, it's not ship rotate. Yeah. All right. So we need to keep track of our ship rotation. Our ship rotation is going to be equal to our ship rotation plus our ship rotate variable. This is going to add our ship rotate. So this is going to add our ship rotate, whatever we currently have that got sent in here. It's going to add that ship rotate to ship rotation and then store that result back in the ship rotation variable. Now my debug ID is going to work. And you can see when I start pressing the A key very quickly, it doesn't take very long. I'm in the thousands of degrees. Now, to get back to the positive degrees, I'd have to hold the D key down for a while, But if a person were to hold the key down long enough, they might hit integer values that might make it hard for the computer to handle it. So it's always a good idea to have some code built in that will keep your ship rotation always between 0 and 360 degrees. And that's what this next if statement's all about. Here we're looking if our ship rotation, if that is trying to, pardon me, and I'm also going to use the modulus operator. If our ship rotation modulus 360 is equal to 0, in other words, I divide the current ship rotation by 360, does it have a remainder of 0? And if that's true, I'm going to set the ship rotation back to 0. If it's true, get in here and I'll set the ship rotation back to 0. If it's not true, this will get skipped. It'll be skipped until it's true. But when it does become true, and we'll be able to see this now, watch it. Here it goes. And we went back to 0, didn't we? Let's go forward in the D direction. And let's see, getting closer. And yes, it goes back to 0. So this is going to force the ship rotation to stay in between 360 and 0. I'll comment out that debug line of code. And I do believe that my code is complete. The ship rotates on the A and D key. It rotates nice and smooth. And that's going to wrap things up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.